welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, May 13th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we finally have an update on Ronald Acuña. The Cubs are promoting Moises Ballesteros. We'll do a little buy, sell, or hold, and much more. Let's jump in.
I don't believe what I just saw.
All right, Scott, you are up player of the night, Merrill Kelly.
Merrill Kelly. Great start for Merrill Kelly here at the Giants. 1 earned run in 7 innings. He walked nobody. He struck out 8. And pretty much every start's been good, except for one terrible one against the Yankees, where he gave up 9 earned runs on April 3rd. You take that out, Merrill Kelly has a 2.28 ERA, 0.89 whip on the year. Looks like a grand return to form for this guy who was so bad last year. And yet, here I am. What am I going to do when there's a good start from an unexpected source? I'm going to crap all over it because that's what I do. Merrill Kelly. So there was a velocity drop for him that coincided with his struggles, and it's remained there. It hasn't come back. Furthermore, he had a 4.94 xERA last year. It's actually 4.95 this year, at least coming into the start. Probably a little lower now, but it's not good. It's not like we saw from him in 2023, 4.13 xERA, and 2022, 3.62 xERA. So I don't know how he's getting away with it, but I think it is getting away with the situation. I don't think Merrill Kelly's going to keep this up, and I think if you can sell high on him, that's something to explore. I don't know that anybody thinks of him as particularly high end, so it might not be possible, and you maybe just ride out the hot streak or whatever. But the point is, I don't think Merrill Kelly is going to be a reliable part of your fantasy staff all season long.
I will say there is something about Merrill Kelly, and I don't know what it is, but there is something that has helped him outperform his expected stats throughout his career. We're talking about probably like an 800 inning sample size, 875 innings since 2019. He has a 303 WOBA against compared to a 322 xWOBA. That's a really large sample size to have a gap that big. What that translates to in terms of outperforming the xERA, you look in most years, he does outperform. It fluctuates, but it's been pretty consistently about a half a run or better most years. Of course, if the xERA is 4.95, that would suggest a low 4s ERA rather than.
I'm just saying, the underlying stats, he looks like last year, even though he's getting better results.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying is that he's probably a 4-ish ERA starter, which means there will be stretches where he has a 3 ERA for 6 to 8 starts. And there will be stretches where he has an 8 or a 5 ERA for 6 to 8 starts. Whether that will be predictable, I tend to think not. He's put up 3 good starts in a row against the Phillies, Mets, and Giants. Well, the Giants aren't a tough matchup, but the Phillies and Mets sure are. So I don't necessarily think he had a 1 earned run in 5 2/3 innings against the Cubs also. So I don't necessarily think this is a situation where you can just play the matchups and feel confident that you're going to get good stuff out of Merrill Kelly. It's just, I'm fine streaming him. I'm also totally fine dropping him. He's one of those just in that large middle where I think Tomoyuki Sugano, who we talked about yesterday, probably
he's much more rostered than Sugano, which is why I brought up the high possibility, at least in CBS leagues, 89% rostered. So almost as high as a starting pitcher can be.
So no, I agree.
Yeah.
I think if you can get someone to buy in, totally fine selling on Moises Ballesteros, on Merrill Kelly.
Whoa, don't jump ahead.
That's me just looking at the rundown and,
I know for sure that there are going to be comments and we're going to get tweets about how we don't like any pitchers and every pitcher is bad. But Again,
I like good pitchers.
We're just keeping it real with you. Entering the start, Merrill Kelly had an 8.8% swinging strike rate, meaning he doesn't get whiffs.
Mm-hmm.
And his average exit velocity against was 90.4 miles per hour. So typically, you want your pitcher to, I mean, if they're really good, get whiffs and limit hard contact.
Yeah.
If they can't do both, then you want one of those things. And right now, Merrill Kelly isn't really doing either of those things. And
Good in control, though.
he is getting great results. So it's like we said with Sugano, and you guys have talked about this, like ride it while it's hot. Obviously, Merrill Kelly's pitching well right now. He's hot. You could just kind of go with it as long as this lasts. But just know, again, you might get caught holding the bag at some point here. If Merrill Kelly has another one of those like blow up starts like he did against the Yankees earlier this season. Over to my player of the night, I want to talk about Zach Neto, who has just been fantastic since returning, right? Coming back from shoulder surgery. And I was scared to death of Zach Neto because A, I didn't know when he would return this season. And B, he's not really someone that generates so far in his career. He hadn't generated hard contact. So, it was really kind of just that pulled fly ball approach and just really squeezing the most out of his power potential so far in his career. And I didn't know how much of that would be here coming back from a shoulder injury. But I mean, he has just been so good. I mean, he's hitting 279, 5 home runs, 16 runs scored, 7 steals, 845 OPS in 22 games. Strikeout rate a little bit elevated, but he is hitting the ball incredibly hard. 94.4 average exit velocity. The barrels are there, pulling the ball a ton again this season, tons of line drives as well. And the expected stats were just tremendous entering this one. 292 XBA, 582 X slug. He's up to 90% rostered, so there's not really anything actionable here. But I just wanted to, I guess, confirm that if you have Zach Neto on your team, you might just have a stud shortstop on your hands because that's how it looks right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was clear from his first week back from the injury. Okay, this shoulder's not really a problem. He looked great on the rehab assignment too. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in one of my weekly articles, Rankings Movers, and put Zach Neto up to 13th at shortstop right away. This is a guy, of course, who had 23 homers and 30 steals. So that kind of makes the case on its own, the 23 homers, 30 steals last year. I don't totally buy the expected stats. The plate discipline's still pretty horrible. I think anytime you have an average exit velocity of 94 miles per hour, the expected stats are going to look pretty good. But I don't think Neto is going to maintain a near Judgian level of average exit velocity. It'll probably regress a little bit, but I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be similar to last year, if not a little better, and that'll make him. Like I said, I have him 13th at shortstop. I might be on the verge of moving him ahead of like Willie Adames and Matt McClain, who are 12 and 11. I think Neto belongs in the same discussion as those two, at least.
I'm looking at the rankings now, and I just thought maybe he deserves to be ranked 10th at the position, right? It feels like there's a pretty clear top 9 that ends with, in some order, O'Neal Cruz, Corey Seager, CJ Abrams. Seager went on the IL again, unfortunately. But then you get into Adames, who's off to a very slow start in San Francisco. Bo Bichette, who we all liked coming into the season, but it has been a pretty slow start for him as well. And Matt McClain.
Empty batting average, yeah.
Matt McClain, who's hitting 170 so far this season. So, yeah, like, why can't Zach Neto just be right after that group of 9? Why can't he just be the 10th shortstop? I don't know. I might move him up that high.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like he deserves.
I'll still take Bo Bichette over him. I think better days are ahead for Bichette.
I think much better days are ahead for Adames, Bichette, and McClain, and I think worse days are ahead for Neto. So I think we're kind of catching them passing each other. But I don't think I've seen enough from any of those guys to dramatically change my preseason ranking of them yet. But, Neto in my most recent ranking was already up to 14, one spot behind Dansby Swanson. That would be a pretty easy one to jump him. I think 13 is probably Swanson's looked pretty good himself.
Killing it right now. Yeah. Up to 9 home runs.
But I don't think he's a 30 homer guy, and I don't think he's going to be nearly as good in stolen bases as Zach Neto. So that's one swap I think would be fairly easy to make.
Last 13 games for Dansby Swanson, 422 with 5 home runs, 12 runs scored, and OPS over 1,300 during that time. Chris, over to you for your player of the night.
Tanner Houck.
Dramatic sigh.
I didn't like him coming into the season.
What did he do to you?
And then as a player, I'm sure he's fine as a person, but as a player,
sure.
I didn't like him. And it was a really bad start to the season. Then he gave up 11 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. And I tried to drop him in one league, and whatever I had tried to add him for didn't go through. So he ended up just sticking on my team. And then at some point he showed a little glimpse of something. You know, that velocity was up like 2-3 miles per hour in one start, and it was even still up last time. And I actually started him this week.
Oh, Chris.
Oh,
and
no.
I started him for the previous blow up.
Oh my.
Those 2 starts alone.
So you didn't like Tanner Houck coming into
Yeah,
the season,
yeah.
but you are now his biggest fan.
Yeah.
I had him in the no thanks section of the 2-star pitcher rankings, but don't blame me.
If I hadn't started Tanner Houck, my season ERA would be 3.71, which isn't great, but is competitive. Instead, it's 4.31.
Oh,
What league was
Just 2-star. One of my home league.
How many teams?
12. I shouldn't have started Tanner Houck. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. We're all on the same page there. We don't need to, but it's just, man, like there's nothing to say, right? Like, I think Tanner Houck will probably be something like a low 4s ERA pitcher moving forward, if he even gets the chance. But these 2 starts have been so disastrous that I don't see how you leave him in the rotation. Like, once you can write off, twice, no. And he now has a 4.68 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP over the past calendar year. Because remember, he was pretty bad in the second half. So yeah, that bad decisions by me. Bad decisions.
Would you guys
We've
like
all been there.
Would you guys like to guess what he finished with on CBS in a points league?
Minus 24.
Yeah, I was gonna say minus 23.
Minus 22 for Tanner Houck.
So nobody wins.
Scott, you are the lucky recipient of going against Tanner Houck in the Dynasty League. So congrats to you.
I didn't notice that. I did see I was up by a lot, but I didn't see why.
Yeah, that would be the reason. Let's talk about who did all of this damage against Tanner Houck. The Tigers destroyed the Red Sox. They put up 14 runs on 18 hits. How about those Tigers, man? They have had a great start to the season. Gleyber Torres has had a great start. 3 for 3 with his 5th home run. He is batting .304, 5 homers, 24 RBI, 4 steals, 857 OPS. He has more walks than strikeouts. He has a 9% strikeout rate on the season. I don't think that's going to last, but obviously that has helped him with the great start here. Trey Sweeney had a nice game, 3 for 5 with his 4th home run. In 10 May games, he is hitting .425 with 3 homers and an OPS over 1,100. And then Javier Baez, 3 more hits. Last 13 games for him, hitting .388, 3 home runs, 17 RBI, OPS over 1,100 during that 13-game stretch. For every day that goes by, do you guys maybe start to buy Gleyber Torres a little bit more in Detroit?
So
I don't have like a good explanation for it. And so much of what he's doing is really out of the norm for him. But I don't know, Scott, maybe you have some explanation for it.
So, like I wrote about Gleyber Torres a week ago. He was one of 5 early season standouts who I thought was deserving of skepticism. And I probably wrote the most about him because it was a little hard to break down. So his average and max exit velocities, Gleyber Torres, which I think would be the clearest sign of him turning a corner as a hitter, they're pretty much in line with career norms. But then again, they also were last year when he was terrible. So it was kind of confounding then, like what's going on with Gleyber Torres if he's hitting the ball basically as hard as normal. His strikeout rate is way down this year. It's only 9%, which is honestly too low to believe given his track record. But it also was down quite a bit last year too. It was like 15%. And obviously it didn't work out very well for him. I will point out that his pull air rate is up this year to 19%. That's the highest since his first 2 years in the league, 2018, 2019, when Gleyber Torres was at the height of his home run powers. So that's probably the single thing. Well, that and the ridiculously low strikeout rate are probably the two main things driving this hot start for Gleyber Torres. And while I could see him sustaining the pull air rate, is really the strikeout rate. I just don't give him any chance of sustaining one that low because it's such an outlier league wide and such a departure from the rest of his career. Not that he's ever been like a high strikeout guy, but that's a ridiculously low level that you can't expect anyone who's never shown that capability in the past to sustain it. And then with the pull air rate, like the thing that hangs over all of this for Gleyber Torres is that he wound up in maybe the worst venue for him historically. You look at his expected home run numbers over the years playing at Comerica Park, just bottoms out. Like he would have lost upward of 30 home runs for his entire career if he had played every game. 40 or closer to 40?
Yeah. Compared to Yankee Stadium, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I was just comparing it to the career number. But yeah, a lot is the point. So I think that's the single factor that makes him deserving of the most skepticism. When the strikeout rate normalizes, let's say the pull air rate regresses a little bit too. What's he going to be left with? And I don't think it's going to be especially impactful in fantasy. Maybe it'll end up being like where we expect Jonathan India to end up. And so Gleyber Torres will be usable enough. But I don't think he's going to be especially high-ended. I don't think you need to be feel like you're tied to him if you want to do something else with that roster spot.
He is just 1 year removed from back-to-back seasons of 24 plus homers, 10 plus steals. So I think you knock a couple of home runs off of that. But
just
clearly,
a couple, Frank, just a couple.
I mean, he already has 5 home runs. Would it really be that crazy if he approaches 20 home runs with 10 to 15 steals this year? And I don't know, like a 270 batting average?
Approaches how many?
Like close to 20 home runs and 10 to 15 steals with
close to 20 would be more than a couple though.
No, but he hit 24 and 25 home runs in
right. So you're saying like he loses 6 or 7 home runs from that.
Yeah, I mean, he's already at 5, so can he hit 15 home runs the rest of the way and get to 20? I don't think it's crazy the way he's hitting right now and pulling the ball in the air.
Right, he could, but I'm predicting he won't keep hitting like he is right now.
One thing I want to look into, and maybe I'll do this tomorrow when I have a little more time. There is some interesting stuff going on in his bat speed metrics, which are not proof of anything necessarily, but there's some interesting stuff. His average bat speed is actually lower than last season, but his fast swing rate is up. And, when you look into the plate discipline stuff, what you're seeing is he's just not chasing at all. 18% chase rate, by far the lowest of his career, well below league average. And he's making more contact. He's being more selective overall and making more contact when he does swing. I don't know what the explanation there is, right? Like he's seeing the ball better, so he's able to pick his spots better, and he can, I don't know, maybe there's something there. If you dig into the data where his bat speed goes up in certain counts and he's being more selective in certain, I don't know. I'm grasping for something without.
That feels kind of like a Cody Bellinger in 2023 with his 2-strike approach.
Yeah, I'm grasping for some possible explanation just because the underlying numbers are just phenomenal. Like the best expected WOBA on contact of his career, or at least since 2019, with a strikeout rate less than half of his career rate. It's just it's such an outlier that I want there to be some explanation. Even though I think it's probably just a good month, you know?
Well, here's a weird thing. This will add to the confusion over Gleyber Torres, because last year was awful. And I mentioned his exit velocity readings were pretty normal then too, and also his strikeout rate was down that year, not as much as this year, but it was down. His expected stats were great last year: 282 expected batting average, 478 expected slug. So he underperformed both.
That was 2 years ago.
Why is 2024 missing on his on his Baseball Savant page?
It's not for me. That's weird.
Okay, yeah, I refreshed and now it's there. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so yeah, a lot. His strikeout rate was up last year.
Yeah,
never mind. Sorry, I don't know why it loaded without the 2024 line in there. That was weird.
You know what? Maybe Gleyber Torres has some fans in the Statcast offices.
Maybe
they're working to hide the bad stuff.
A couple other big performances here. I just wanted to mention real quick. Corbin Carroll, 2 for 3 with 2 more home runs. He is up to 13 in 42 games. That is a 50 homer pace. His career high is 25, which he had back in 2023. So looks like we might be getting a career year out of Corbin Carroll. And then Robert Suarez, complete other end of the spectrum, imploded in the 9th inning. He entered with a 2-run lead. He gave up a single and then walked 4 in a row. He was eventually charged with 5 runs because the next reliever allowed a grand slam to Taylor Ward. So just a complete implosion there by the Padres bullpen and a very rough outing for Robert Suarez. Before we hit our first break, big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take that break, and we'll be back right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Ronaldo. Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. News and notes. It is time for Ronald Acuña, who is scheduled to begin a minor league rehab assignment in the rookie level Florida Complex League on Tuesday. There is no timeline as of now for how long he will be on a rehab assignment, but just based on it being May 13th, my guess is they'll give him at least a couple of weeks. I think late May, early June, assuming no setbacks, right? Ronald Acuña?
Yeah, probably. I think they're not putting a timeline on it because they want to see how it goes, how good he looks in the field, how good he looks at the plate, just however long it takes him to convince them they're ready. And I would think at least 2 weeks, though.
Mm-hmm. I would be shocked if it was less than 2 weeks. Yeah, because you look at like a normal spring training and you're probably getting 50 to 60 plate appearances. That's probably about 15 games, I would guess. So that would be something around there would be what I would expect.
Sticking with the Braves, Spencer Strider is scheduled to throw 70 to 75 pitches in a simulated game on Wednesday. Assuming that goes well, I think maybe we can get him back as soon as next week. The Cubs are reportedly calling up prospect Moises Ballesteros. It sounds like Ian Happ will go on the IL. So that does open up the DH spot. They could put Seiya Suzuki in the outfield. I don't know if Ballesteros will just play every day at DH because obviously the Cubs have Carson Kelly and Miguel Amaya as well.
Miguel Amaya's got an 815 OPS. He's been really good this season.
Yes, it is a great problem for them to have. Ballesteros, a 21-year-old catcher who was hitting .368 with 4 home runs, a .942 OPS in the minors this season. He is 13% rostered. Scott, obviously 2 catcher leagues. I think you can take a crack here. Mm-hmm. Anything shallower than that where you'd be looking to add Moises Ballesteros right now?
I mean, it's such a difficult spot because with the DH spot opening up, Ian Happ hurt, Seiya Suzuki shifting to the outfield, it gave them an opportunity to give Amaya the at-bats he needed. And they had both Amaya and Kelly in the lineup, and I thought they would just stick with that. But calling up Ballesteros, who is one of the prospects who's risen the most this year. He was a top 100 guy to begin with, but he's just been so good at AAA and at such a young age that I think he's now considered like a premier prospect. They got to find at bats for him.
368 batting average.
Right. And he's struck out in less than half his games there, 16 strikeouts in 34 games. His line drive rate is 28%. He hits it to the opposite field as much as he pulls it. So this guy is really built for batting average. And unlike other guys who we've seen built for batting average, he actually makes high quality contact. And he's doing all this as I think he's 21 still.
Yes.
So there's plenty of room for growth there too. It's like he can definitely hit Ballesteros, but DH might be his future as a major leaguer, particularly with the Cubs having a catcher surplus. He's also played first base in the minors, but he's 5'8". You really don't want a guy that short at first base. It obviously makes for more missed throws and whatnot.
And also, Michael Busch is a left-handed. He's a good left-handed hitting first baseman,
right?
Who has played a third of an inning at third base since getting to the Cubs. So
he has played more in the minors. I kind of wish they'd just do that, shift Busch back to third base, but I don't think that's.
I just don't think they're going to. Yeah.
Plus, they want Matt Shaw to come back eventually too.
So yeah, it's like Ballesteros is stuck in with Carson Kelly's emergence this year. He's stuck in like the worst organization for him because he can't even really be their backup catcher. And so now they got this opening at DH, and we'll see how it goes. I would guess since he's a left-handed batter, he'll sit against lefties, and they'll use that opportunity to get Kelly and Amaya in the lineup at the same time. But otherwise, Ballesteros is going to play against righties at DH, and they'll continue to split catcher duties between Kelly and Amaya like they already were. And we'll see how it goes. We'll reassess once Ian Happ is ready to return. But it's hard to imagine if everyone's healthy that they could justify keeping Ballesteros around after that.
I really want to be excited about Moises Ballesteros. He is, after all, a big beefy baseball boy, and just an exciting. Like, I love watching a dude shaped like that hit like this. I just think that is one of the most fun things about baseball, but I can't see. Look, life finds a way. He could force their hand. It's really hard to see a scenario where if he's just gotten 1,000 OPS in 2 weeks, then it won't matter, right? They're not going to send him down. He's got 50 OPS, probably a lot more likely. He's probably going down as soon as Ian Happ's ready.
The only way they could keep him around with 1,000 OPS, if everybody's healthy, they would have to shift Busch to third.
Yeah, no,
what other choice is there to give everybody the at-bats they need?
If he's clearly a difference maker, I think you just got to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, he can't play. He can't play anywhere else. Is the point? Yeah. He's just not. He doesn't have an athletic enough build to try in the outfield.
I've seen some talk. I've seen some talk of him playing third base, but he's never done it.
Other than myself raising that in a recent prospects report, I haven't seen talk of it. I raised it because the whole profile kind of reminds me of Pablo Sandoval, and he went from catcher to third base. But I don't know that anybody with any real authority has speculated that for Ballesteros. Busch would make far more sense.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, for anybody listening, if you have any contacts in the Cubs organization, make sure to send Scott's article that way, and maybe we can, make some moves. Logan Gilbert is scheduled to throw a bullpen on Tuesday. He's on the IL with a right elbow flexor strain. George Kirby is expected to make another rehab start at AAA Friday. Corey Seager is likely headed back to the IL with that right hamstring injury. As expected, the Rangers recalled Jake Berger from AAA. He is 52% rostered. Do you think that number needs to be much higher?
Yes. Whatever number of categories-based leagues there are, I think Jake Berger should be rostered in at least that many. And then a decent number of points leagues. He's worse in points. But this was a top 100 pick in a lot of leagues a month and a half ago, and a top 120 pick in basically every league. I didn't have him ranked that high, but I don't think what we saw in the first 29 games, whatever it was from him, should change your expectation about Jake Berger at all.
I remember his first 29 games last year. It was
he was terrible for the first 3 months of the season. He finished June with a 245 WOBA for the season at the end of June, and then hit 22 homers over the final 3 months. Like, this is just the normal Jake Burger experience. It's just that he was on a team that couldn't afford to let him play. So I think all your upside expectations, all your upside hopes for Jake Burger are still very much in play. And I'll take him at whatever he costs in FAB compared to the top 10 round pick he was before the season.
Sticking with the Rangers, Luke Jackson exited after getting hit by a line drive comebacker. He was relieved by Jacob Webb, who gave up a hit and a walk, but converted his first save of the season. We'll have to wait and see more, but I believe they already kind of ruled out anything major being wrong with Luke Jackson. If there were, I assume maybe like Chris Martin would get an opportunity, but we'll have to wait for more information there. Jackson Merrill was back in the lineup after missing Sunday with an illness, and I believe he had 3 hits in that game, so just continues to hit. Jose Altuve returned to the lineup on Monday. O'Neal Cruz has missed 2 straight with lower back tightness. Ian Happ missed 3 straight with oblique discomfort. We mentioned he's likely to go on the IL. Sounds like the plan is for Jordan Lawler to play 4 to 5 games per week, shuffling through second base, third base, and shortstop. So it's kind of annoying for some of those other players too, because they might lose out on a game here or there. The Yankees have had the same problem where they have to find a way to get Trent Grisham in the lineup. So Bellinger loses a game. Jason Dominguez loses a game here or there. Ben Rice will lose a DH game. So it's kind of annoying. It's a good problem for the major league team to have, but obviously we want as much volume as humanly possible. So, Jordan Lawler, 4 to 5 times per week. That's what it sounds like for now. Brandon Woodruff won't be reinstated this week as he's now dealing with right ankle tendinitis. Ben Lively left to start Monday due to right forearm inflammation. Jose Quintana felt shoulder soreness after his last start. Plans to throw a bullpen on Wednesday, and if that goes well, he will start Friday against the Twins. Justin Martinez will throw to live hitters on Wednesday after a successful bullpen this past weekend. AJ Puck expected to begin a throwing program in the coming week. He's on the 60-day IL with elbow inflammation. The Guardians optioned Brian Rocchio to AAA. Gabriel Arias started at shortstop with Daniel Schneemann at second. And a pretty nasty injury late in the Yankees game. Oswaldo Cabrera had to be driven off the field in an ambulance. It wasn't just like they brought out the cart and that wasn't enough. Like he had to go in an ambulance. It looked like a broken ankle, kind of a gruesome replay. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, don't look it up. He was obviously really shaken up. You feel for the guy. Sounds like DJ LeMahieu will return on Tuesday for the Yankees. And so maybe a pretty natural replacement there at third base. Let's get into some waiver wire hitters here from Monday's action. And in one catcher leagues, Ivan Herrera, just picking up where he left off, hit his 5th home run here. He has at least 1 hit in each of the 3 games since coming off the IL. 355 batting average, 5 home runs in 10 games played this season. He's 71% rostered. And I wanted to mention Austin Wells, who hit his 8th home run as well. He's just playing a lot of volume here for the Yankees catcher. He's got 4 home runs in the past 10 games, 215 batting average. You don't love that, but 28 RBI, 8 home runs, 760 OPS. Sounds pretty good there. And he is 77% rostered. In a one catcher league, who do you guys like more, Austin Wells or Ivan Herrera?
Oh, Herrera, easily. Herrera has, I don't know if it's overstating it to say that Herrera has best hitting catcher in baseball upside. Like his career xWOBA, I believe, is 362, which is higher than William Contreras. It's higher than Adley Rutschman's career. Like what he has shown, and he was a good hitter in the minors, it gives real William Contreras vibes. I don't think Austin Wells has that kind of upside. And the thing I'm worried about with how much he's playing, he broke down last year. His last 40 or so games, 50 or so games, including the playoffs, he was brutal. Remember, he had a 400 OPS in the postseason as well. So I'm just a little worried about how Austin Wells is going to age, I guess, this season. But
he's only 25 years old.
I think he's good.
Yeah.
I think Ivan Herrera is clearly the better overall player.
Yeah, I'm struggling with how high to I'm going to do my big rankings update tomorrow, and I'm struggling how high to put Ivan Herrera. At this point, I think I could put him past Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy's backup is just too good, unfortunately. Yeah. That's been the story of his entire Braves career. I might move Hunter Goodman past Sean Murphy at this point, frankly, but Herrera, would you move him ahead of Agustin Ramirez? I know we love.
Yeah, he's already is
Ramirez. Yeah,
I think so.
So that gets him in the top 10 for me.
For me, it's like Tyler Stevenson. I think that's a pretty easy call. Stevenson's fine, but he's never much more than fine.
Already below him for me. Yeah.
Then you've got like Logan O'Hoppe and Shea Langoliers.
Yeah,
I think he has more upside than them.
If I had Langoliers on my team, I wouldn't drop him.
I wouldn't drop him. No.
Yeah.
So that's
I have Langoliers a few spots ahead of O'Hoppe. So they're kind of a different category for me. But I may need to look at that closer. I may have just planted Langoliers in that 9 spot right away and not budged on him when maybe he deserved to be budged. Hoppe's got like a 34% strikeout rate after having a 30% rate last year.
Getting
nine home runs at the catcher position is really good.
How many does Austin Wells have?
8. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'd probably take Austin Wells over Logan O'Hoppe at this point.
But O'Hoppe's hitting 264. Austin Wells is hitting 215.
Right. But if you're striking out 35% of the time, you're not going to keep hitting 264.
All right. So looking at it a little more, I think yes on O'Hoppe. It just that batting average is going to collapse at some point. His XBA is 249.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Yeah, better than I expected.
I would still take the under on the XBA.
He's just crushing the ball. I mean, when he puts it in play, it's
Langoliers it's like,
hard to maintain extremes like that.
Yeah, O'Hoppe's a very extreme on both ends of the spectrum. He's crushing the ball, but he's also got some of the worst plate discipline in baseball. Langoliers just kind of looks good at everything right now. So I have a little more faith in him than I do O'Hoppe.
Yeah. That's
so
what I was saying.
I would think between. So that would be number 10 for me.
Yeah. So
that's where I landed.
Langoliers, Herrera, and then O'Hoppe after that, right? And then Austin Wells behind both those guys.
Yeah, I might take Goodman over O'Hoppe. And I already said I'd take Wells over O'Hoppe. I'm just down on O'Hoppe.
Yeah. All right. Well,
get him out of here. Too sloppy, O'Hoppe.
You're O'Hopping off the train.
Let's talk about some outfielders. Trent Grisham will not stop. 3 for 6 with a double dong. He is up to 12 home runs. He is hitting 288. He has a 1036 OPS. His career high was 17 home runs in 152 games back in 2022. He already has 12 in 34 games this season. Chris, you made what I thought was a pretty good comp before. Like, maybe he's just this year's Jerkson Profar. Trent Grisham.
Yeah, I mean, remember, like, at Trent Grisham's best, quote unquote best, he had to really lean into like the lift and pull approach to get to those 17 homers, which led to a 184 batting average that season. Huge strikeout rates, huge infield fly rates. Well, he still pops the ball up quite a bit, but he's cut the strikeout rate from 27% to 29% the previous 3 seasons to just 18%, with really good underlying plate discipline metrics. Chase rate is one of the lowest I've ever seen at 17%. Zone contact rate up to 88%. He's also just crushing the ball. 91.7 mile per hour average exit velocity, 10.7% barrel rate, or 15.4% barrel rate, excuse me. Those are by far the best marks of his career. I think it's just a hot streak that ends at some point, but he's already forced the Yankees to play him a lot more. This was not the plan. The plan was not to have this much Trent Grisham in our lives. And he's been
leading off.
Yeah, he's been probably, has he been their second best player this season? I think it's pretty clearly, like, with the defense that he plays in center field as well.
Well, I mean, how many How many players in the entire league have more than 12 home runs? Like,
how many players have
two?
been better than a 1038 OPS and really good defense in center field? That's a good point. Yeah. I think it probably doesn't last, but yeah, I'm at this point just add him and see. Like maybe it's a total fluke, but maybe it is Jerks and Profar.
How do you guys rank Trent Grisham, Sal Frelick, and Evan Carter? They're all between like 50 and 60% rostered right now.
Grisham, Gap, Carter, Frelick.
I might put Frelick over Carter. Carter has more upside.
Yeah.
He let off today too.
Yeah. I
attempted a steal as well.
It's really just a weekend of
he got the steal.
Numbers that make me think, maybe Carter's coming around. Well, Frelick, I think, is going to be a pretty good base stealer. And even for points leagues, like the plate discipline's so good there that I think I have more faith in Frelick being useful all season.
And then Mason Wynn hit his 4th home run, 18 games since coming off the IL. He is hitting .279, 3 homers, 2 steals, and OPS near 900. He is 58% rostered. If we talk about adding Wynn in more leagues than that, it's probably points leagues at that point. I'm not sure Mason Wynn needs to be rostered in points leagues.
I will say I almost went with Wynn for my oh my goodness gracious player, not for what he did today, 1 for 3 with a home run, right? That's not that impressive, but remember, he struck out, I think, 8 times in his first 5 games of the season and was dreadful in spring training as well. Since those first 5 games, so since the 6th game of the season, Mason Wynn is hitting .307 with a 25 homer, 112 run pace. And there was an IL stint in there.
And now he's batting second in the lineup.
It's 26 or 27 games, I think. So small sample size, but
more than I thought, though.
Yeah, no, like he started turning it around before he went on the IL. And it's a 23% strikeout rate, so, the .307 batting average is going to be hard to sustain, but he's been pretty good for most of the season so far, which is impressive. I don't know if it means look, shortstop is deep with difference makers, and I'm not sure Mason Wynn is a difference maker.
I can't even get him in the top 25.
But I think he's showing some really interesting stuff right now.
How would you guys rank Mason Wynn, Jordan Lawler, and Javier Baez?
Baez at the bottom.
Yeah, Wynn, Lawler, Baez for me.
I told someone, they were asking me if they could drop Wynn for Lawler yesterday, and it was like a head-to-head league. I said, in something that shallow, I don't think Wynn is enough of a difference maker.
Sure.
I think you could chase the upside of Lawler, but if we're playing the probabilities game, who has the higher probability of finishing higher in the fantasy rankings from today forward? Probably Wynn.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, we'll talk about some waiver wire pitchers and the rest of Monday's action right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Quickly run through some waiver wire pitchers from Monday's action. Verlander turned in a quality start against the D-backs. Clark Schmidt, also a quality start at the Mariners. And Colin Ray, quality start against the Marlins. All are right around 60 to 70% rostered. Do any of those 3 jump off the page for you guys, or are they just streaming the right matchups?
They were all sleeper pitchers for this week, so yay. Ray's next matchup this week is against the White Sox, and it was really just a matchups related choice there with Marlins and White Sox. So after this week, I will have basically no interest in Ray. I don't think there is a lot to get excited about there. Verlander, I've pointed out a couple times, has his highest swinging strike rate since 2019. I don't know that that's doing much for him. He's had 4 quality starts in 5, so he's been usable. But apart from the swinging strike rate, I'm not seeing a lot to get excited about with Verlander. So I think he's probably just going to be a streamable option this year. I like him more than Ray, but still pretty low end for standard size leagues. Schmidt might be the one with hope of ascending to something higher, which is there's probably a more efficient way to say that, but that's the wording I landed on. Schmidt obviously had pretty good results last year. He entered this start with 2 pitches having better than a 45% whiff rate, and kind of switched things up a little bit in this start, and it still went great. So he's had 3 good starts in a row. I think he's trending up. I think Clark Schmidt deserves to be rostered, not universally, but more than Verlander, and certainly more than Ray.
And then Chase Dollander had a strong start at the Rangers. 6 innings, 1 hit, 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, only 8 whiffs on 85 pitches here. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 2 of his last 3 outings. He also has had some big blow-up starts as well. So I think we need to see more, obviously, pitching in Coors Field on a terrible team. I think the Rockies only have like 7 wins on the season. It's not great. I think it's a name to watch, a name to monitor with Chase Dollander, but not looking to act on that just yet. Let's get into some buy, sell, or hold on these starting pitchers. Matthew Liberatore, just okay at the Phillies, 5 1/3, 2 runs allowed, 4 strikeouts, had 11 whiffs on 80 pitches. Actually did not have his slider working in this one, which is typically his best pitch this season. But overall, man, it has been a very nice start to the season for Matthew Liberatore. Where are you guys at? Buy, sell, or hold?
I'd more likely sell than buy, but I'd have to have a pretty good offer. So the most likely scenario is hold. It kind of reminds me of Ranger Suarez at the start of last year, where it's going to rely on Liberatore maintaining elite control, which he's had so far. Even in this start, 70% of his pitches for strikes. That's great.
It's hard to sustain.
It's hard to sustain. Yeah, particularly when we don't have repeated instances of him doing it. It's same knock on Ranger Suarez last year. So I think Liberatore definitely must roster at this point. Can probably start him with most matchups right now, but I would be hesitant to get too comfortable with him. And if a good offer did come your way, I would seriously consider it.
Jackson Jobe had a mixed start up against the Red Sox, 5 2/3, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, which were a season high. You like all those things. 15 whiffs on 100 pitches. Very nice. 5 walks. Not nice. It's not what you want to see from Jackson Jobe. Mixed in more fastballs and changeups in this one. And man, entering this start, the changeup was actually his best start this season for Jackson Jobe. He's still 84% rostered. What do you guys think here? Buy, sell, or hold on Jackson Jobe?
If anybody's buying, sell. I just don't think anybody is buying. So
would you be looking to buy low?
No, not really.
It's hard to get that excited when he issues 5 walks.
Yeah, like even the good starts.
His most encouraging start of the season. This was his 9th appearance. It was his first time with double-digit swinging strikes. So that's already like, his fastball had an 8% whiff rate coming into this game, which is like Reese Olson. I think Reese Olson's 4-seamer is better than that. It's the sinker that has a whiff rate that low. So he did throw more change-ups and fewer sliders. And so I'm wondering if that helped, if that played better with the fastball, and that's why the fastball became more effective. But like it's too thin of a reasoning. The reasoning there's too thin for me to declare Jackson Jobe has figured it out and you can trust him going forward. I would still be pretty skeptical.
I'm okay holding him. Like I still think the upside is high, but he's clearly not a finished product. Well, I don't know if it's the pitch mix, if it's a tipping issue, what it is, but even after this start, I just don't think there's very much encouraging to go on. So if you're holding Jobe, it's solely as a kind of blind faith flyer, which is, I think, very similar to Roki Sasaki, where it's just you're hanging on mostly out of name value. I think Jobe is more promising than Sasaki so far, but that's not really saying much. So I'm not super enthused about it.
Grant Holmes had a solid outing up against the Nationals, 6 1/3, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, had 11 whiffs on 79 pitches. He also allowed 11 hard hits in this one. Where are you guys at on Grant Holmes? Buy, sell, or hold?
I don't know that you could sell him for much, so that doesn't make sense. I'm holding. It's always a mixed bag, right? It's always like, oh, I can get encouraged by how many bats his slider is missing and how efficient he was in this start. 79 pitches to get through 6 1/3.
Hasn't been efficient at all before this, though.
He's had moments, but even in this start, it's weird. He was that efficient, but he threw only 62% strikes. And as you mentioned, the hard hits were there. So
I think he's just a guy. Like, there's a spectrum of guys, and he's probably on the higher end of that spectrum. But, like, I don't see much reason to think Grant Holmes is a top 60 starter right now.
Yeah, I don't think I have him that high.
I think that's fair. And
so, like, hang on to him. He's fine. He's useful. But I think the hopes of Grant Holmes, like, taking this big step forward and being a difference maker, I think we can pretty much write that off.
Frank and I have him 65th. I can't find where you have him, Chris. How far down do you have Grant Holmes? I don't. You know what? I don't think you've added him to SP yet. Oh, you do. You have him 55th. Chris is the high
That's
guy.
too high. That's too high. I don't know what
wow,
that.
Chris. Wow. Let's talk about David Peterson, who had a quality start against the Pirates. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 17 whiffs on 100 pitches. Pretty nice outing here for Peterson. Velocity actually being down a little bit in this one, but he's been pretty consistent. 2 earned runs or fewer in 6 of 8 starts. He's got a 2.84 ERA that also comes with a 1.35 WHIP. Where are you guys at on Peterson? Buy, sell, or hold on him?
I mean, he's clearly just a guy. The best thing he does is keep the ball on the ground, but it's not going to miss a lot of bats. He's going to walk a bunch of guys. Rarely going to go 6 innings. He did in this start against the Pirates. He's a little better than Colin Ray, but he's closer to that end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think he's low-end guy.
All right, so Grant Holmes, high-end Jag, David Peterson, low-end Jag.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
There's lower end than Peterson, but yeah, I prefer Holmes.
Middling Jag. Okay.
Sure.
Tyler Mahle had a strong start up against the Rockies. This one was in Texas, not in Coors Field. 6 1/3, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, had 11 whiffs on 88 pitches here. The splitter looked much better here. 6 of those 11 whiffs on the splitter. He has allowed 8 earned runs all season. It's a 1.47 ERA and a 0.96 WHIP for Tyler Mahle. Buy, sell, or hold?
And this is the most clear sell high candidate in baseball. Like, I think he's, again, probably on the higher end of the Jag spectrum, but I think he is just a guy. Like, the fastball can limit damage on contact, but there's going to be homer problems at some point. The splitter is good, but not incredible. It just 6.8 K per 9, 2.9 walks per 9, and a 1.47 ERA. That just doesn't work out. So I think he's more like a high 3s ERA guy at best. And I think we'll see that at some point.
I agree. Yeah. But he's at least the clearest sell high at starting pitcher.
All right, let's talk about some hitter ebbs and flows. Some hitters who have either been hot or cold recently. And Marcell Ozuna hit his 6th home run. His previous 12 games before this, he was hitting 163 with 0 homers, 1 RBI, and a 517 OPS. Scott, resident Braves fan, where are we at on Marcell Ozuna, who I believe has 15 total RBI on the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of when he was at his hottest, nobody else was doing anything, and so his RBI total got limited. But he's in a prominent spot in the lineup, so I don't think that's going to be a season-long affliction. He hopefully snapped out of the cold spell with this big game here on Monday. I think part of the problem is he's being pitched around so much. His walk rate is through the roof.
He has more walks than strikeouts this season.
And that started back early in the year when he was the only Brave who was hitting. So it made sense. I think he's fine. I think in the long run, you're going to be happy with Marcell Ozuna.
Okay.
I haven't even considered looking at Marcell Ozuna yet.
Seiya Suzuki broke out of a mini slump here on Monday, 1 for 3 with his 10th home run. His previous 9 games before this, he was hitting 100 with 1 extra base hit, 14 strikeouts, a 225 OPS. Strikeout rate slightly elevated this season, but still hitting the crap out of the ball right now. Chris, any thoughts to Seiya Suzuki?
He is a mid 800s OPS bat with an 816 OPS. So I guess moderately better days are ahead, but I kind of think he just is what he is.
All right. Dansby Swanson, we mentioned earlier, last 13 games, he's been awesome. 422, 5 home runs, OPS over 1,300. Elliot Ramos has really picked things up as well. He had 3 hits on Monday. The last 14 games hitting 447 with 4 homers and OPS near 1,300. And part of what I was worried about entering the season was that he mashed lefties last season. He was not good against righties. He has an 873 OPS with 6 of his 7 home runs against right-handed pitching this season. So I am kind of starting to believe that this is just who Elliot Ramos is. He's just really good.
Yeah, he's really good in a number 3 outfielder sort of way.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I guess. I think that's fine.
Good batting average, 25 to 30 home runs, like 800 plus OPS. Yeah, feels like a pretty solid bet there for Elliot Ramos. What is up with Ozzie Albies and Dylan Cruz? Ozzie Albies dropped to 7th in the Braves lineup. He went 0 for 4 here. And look, 5 home runs, 5 steals. That's fine. He's on pace to go 2020 this season. He also is hitting 207 with a 587 OPS. Scott, what is up with Ozzie Albies?
Well, he's cold. He's not striking out any more than usual. He's always a player. Like somebody just tweeted at me his, the different sliders, the red and blue or blue sliders from his Baseball Savant page, and just with like an ugh. And it's like, okay, yeah, Ozzie Albies' Baseball Savant page is usually blue. It's kind of the same story for him and the other 2 mainstays at second base over the years, Jose Altuve and Marcus Semien. They're all kind of the same in that way, where by the metrics, they're not impressive, but then the numbers always end up there. And one of the concerns I've had for Ozzie Albies over the past few years is what if he gets what if we're in like more of a dead ball year? Will his ability to overcome those very modest exit velocities, will it carry over to a dead ball year? I don't think we're in a dead ball year, so I don't think that's what's going on here. And if that's not what's going on here, I trust that Ozzie Albies will eventually come around.
All right, what about Dylan Cruz, who is giving us power and a good amount of speed, but the batting average, man, it is just atrocious. 179, 552 OPS, but he's got 5 homers. He's got the 10 steals. The strikeout rate still high here and still 85% rostered. Chris, I know we spoke a lot about Dylan Cruz earlier in the season, but we're now, 6-7 weeks into the season. Where are you at now on Dylan Cruz?
The one thing I will say is there's a little bit of the Rafael Devers thing going on with Dylan Cruz, where the overall strikeout rate is extremely high, but 10 of his 42 strikeouts came in the first 4 games of the season. And his strikeout rate is in the eyeballing it. He has 32 strikeouts in 135 plate appearances since the start of April. That sounds like a 25-ish % strikeout rate, which is manageable. It's not great, but it's
been a lot higher lately for what it's worth. 19 in 56 plate appearances.
I guess it depends how we're defining, because it's 11 and 43 plate appearances in May. So
yeah.
So I look at the whole picture, and I think it's a young player who's still developing, still has some clear weaknesses, probably in like a 10-team league, doesn't need to be rostered. And most points leagues, I think he's pretty limited, but any 12-team categories league, especially any 5 outfielder league, I don't think there's any way I'd be dropping Dylan Cruz. He has A 251 WOBA right now, which is bad. A 331 expected WOBA, which is above average. With his speed, I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think better days are ahead for Dylan Cruz. If you don't agree, that's reasonable, but I'm still willing to bet on the talent. You know, would I drop Dylan Cruz for Trent Grisham in a 12-team 3 outfielder categories league? Maybe. But I would hope I have a player with less upside than Dylan Cruz that I could drop.
The expected stats still look good for what it's worth for Dylan Cruz. And you spoke about the expected WOBA, but it's a 255 XBA with a 179 actual batting average. So that is, I'm willing to bet, one of the biggest underachievers in baseball right now. Also a 459 X slug and a 314 slugging percentage.
Yep.
So again, it's just, it feels like Cruz, while striking out a good amount, has kind of hit into some bad luck so far this season.
And a 363 expected WOBA over his past 100 plate appearances too. That's really good.
Yeah.
So Dylan Cruz is the second biggest underachiever by expected batting average. You know who number 1 is? Salvador Perez.
That makes sense.
I was going to say it.
And you were going to say it. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry for denying you the glory. Adley Rutschman is third, by the way.
I will say we are 70 games into Dylan Cruz's career, so it's a very small sample size. He has underperformed his expected stats by a huge amount. His expected WOBA for his career is 328. His actual WOBA is 266. There might just be something about Dylan Cruz that makes him underperform consistently. I don't know if it's, he kind of has an all fields approach. He doesn't really pull the ball in the air very much. All those things maybe could be holding him back, but I still think it's too small of a sample size to draw that kind of conclusion about a player. So I'm going to bet on the performance reaching the underlying stats before I bet on the underlying stats just not being indicative of talent.
All right, let's wrap up with some leftovers here. On the pitching side, we got a quality start from Christopher Sanchez, the same from Paul Skeens, and the same from Michael Wacha. 3 quality starts in a row. Anything to add on those 3?
It is just mildly concerning that it's now been 3 straight starts with 3 walks for Christopher Sanchez. It's not a ton of walks.
I thought you were going to say that for Paul Skeens because it's been the same exact thing.
Yeah, that I honestly have almost zero concern about Paul Skeens. Look, if you took Paul Skeens in the first round, you should probably be pretty concerned that you're not going to get a good return on investment in that. I think that's he seems to have made some adjustments to his approach to pitch to contact a little more. He's lowered his arm slot. I think it's affected the movement of his pitches. But then you look at each individual pitch and they're all generating tons of weak contact and they're all generating really strong whiff rates. And he's never really had control issues before the most recent 3 starts. So I'm inclined to write it off. I haven't moved Paul Skeens down at all in my rankings. Sanchez, his track record is limited enough, especially as a top 20 type pitcher, which is I think where we started to move him before the forearm injury, that, 3 straight starts with 3 walks coming right off the forearm injury. It's just a little concerning. I'm not panicking. I'm not moving Chris Sanchez down, but it's not what I want to see from him.
Mm-hmm. One more point on Skeens too. You mentioned you might not get a return on investment in the first round, especially if you took him over Tarek Skubal, man, because Skubal has just, we talked about it yesterday. He looks better this season than he did last year in his Cy Young season. So look, both guys are awesome, but Skubal has still been better than Skeens.
I would still take Wheeler over Skeens, but
Wheeler's been great too. So.
That's the list, right? I'm not moving. I don't know who would even, who's number 4 right now? Cole Reagan's not taking him over Paul Skeens, not taking Chris Sale over Paul Skeens, not taking Garrett Crochet over Paul Skeens. So
right.
I think he's still clearly in that number 3 spot.
I did want to mention Freddie Peralta, who on paper had a not so great start, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts here. He also had a fly ball to center field with the bases loaded. It was a running catch for Jackson Chourio. So take with that what you will. But according to StatCast, had a 95% catch probability, and Chourio just whiffed it. He just completely missed it. all 3 runners scored, and they were charged to Peralta on a play that looks like it should have been made by Jackson Trio. So it's unfortunate. Like, you don't get anything out of that. Maybe you feel a little bit better, but it doesn't make the line look any better for Freddie Peralta. But yeah, just kind of an unfortunate one there for him. On the hitting side of the leftovers, Jose Ramirez ran wild against the Brewers. He had 3 steals in this game. Willie Abreu continues his breakout, hit his 11th home run of the season. And Wyatt Langford, he's been up and down, 7 homers, 7 steals. Obviously, you like that, and 842 OPS. But I noticed batting average trending down a little bit recently, still 263. But yeah, I think overall, we're happy with what we've got from Wyatt Langford.
Quality of contact has taken a hit since the injury, which is not surprising. Obliques are tricky, but that's the one thing I want to keep monitoring for him.
Call to the bullpen for the Cardinals. Ryan Helsley struck out 2 for his 8th save. For the Braves, Raisel Iglesias, just some weird defense for closers today, where just some errors behind them that caused blown saves was kind of annoying. But Raisel Iglesias got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He gave up 2 unearned runs on 2 hits, took his 3rd blown save, wound up with the win in the bottom of the 9th.
The 3rd out was there, and Nick Allen just double clutched the throw and ended up missing the target on the ground out. So that's why Iglesias ended up with a blown save. But Iglesias has been pretty shaky. This was his 3rd straight outing, allowing at least 1 run, and his velocity's been down a little bit this year. I'm mildly concerned about it. I don't think there's an obvious choice to replace him in Atlanta if it comes to that. But
what's Craig Kimbrell up to in the minors?
Yeah, he did get a save recently.
Last I saw, he was walking too many guys, but I haven't checked in a while. If I had to speculate, it would probably be a combination of Pierce Johnson and Dylan Lee. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't think Iglesias' job is in jeopardy at the moment.
I will say someone in the chat brought up a great point. There are too many obvious errors being ruled hits. This is actually, I think, a real problem in Major League Baseball, and it needs to stop. Or we just get rid of errors. I think the whole idea is kind of stupid. But if errors are going to exist, we are way too generous with not giving defensive players errors, and it's got to stop.
For the Mets, Edwin Diaz was unavailable. Huáscar Brazaban got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead, and he gave up an unearned run on 2 hits, took his 2nd blown save, but wound up with a win because, on the other side, the Pirates' David Bednar got the 9th inning with the game tied, led off the inning with an error behind him, followed by a single and then a sac fly. Boom. Game over. Mets win. For the Cubs, Porter Hodge was unavailable, and it seems like the Cubs are just opting not to use Ryan Presley in save opportunities right now. Drew Pomeranz got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He gave up a hit, but struck out 2 for his first save. And Pomeranz has made 8 appearances, 7 2/3 shutout innings, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. He is 0% rostered, but man, if you're looking for who might be next up for the Cubs, it might be Drew Pomeranz.
It might be. I think it's a committee until they sort out Presley. So apparently they're not worried about Presley's stuff, but they think he is not hiding the ball well enough in his delivery. So they want to get him on a more consistent pitching schedule so that he's able to work on it. Mm-hmm. So I that's the plan right now. Is he's going to go on days when he's scheduled to go, and if it happens to be in a save chance or a high leverage spot, fine. If it doesn't, fine. And they're going to try and get him missing more bats by having him hide the ball better.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
For the Royals, Carlos Estevez picked up his 12th save, and then for the D-backs, Shelby Miller got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He struck out 1 for his 2nd save of the season. To stream or not to stream on Tuesday, and we have Ben Brown up against the Marlins. Jack Leiter hasn't been good, but he gets the Rockies on the road. Brian Baez at the Tigers. Soroka at the Braves. We lost Andrew Abbott because he's too rostered now. So
it's Brown and Leiter for me. I think those are the only 2 I would really consider.
If Abbott isn't too rostered in your league, though, definitely him over these others. I guess Brown, his last couple starts have been good. I don't really trust Leiter as bad as the Rockies are.
Mm-hmm. And then on Wednesday, we have Eric
Scott. I would start you against the Rockies on the road.
Oh,
to be clear.
Thank you. That's nice.
I
did hit 69 on a radar gun once.
Nice.
Jinx, you owe me something. On Wednesday, Eric Fetty is at the Phillies. We have, anybody else? Hunter Dobbins, we talked about yesterday. He's at the Tigers.
Eduardo Rodriguez still has really good xERA numbers, but don't look at the actual ERA. Yeah, that hasn't worked out.
Tyone against the Marlins.
Yeah, Tyone against the Marlins, I think, is a fine one. Weathers, I want to watch it, but I don't want to have him in my lineup. I like Dobbins. It's not a great matchup, but it's a good park to pitch in. I think he's pretty talented, so I might go Dobbins second, and then I don't have to pick a third one, right?
Who was first?
Tyone.
Yeah, against the Marlins.
Yeah, if I don't have to pick a third one, then I won't.
I won't make you.
Scott?
I don't have anything to add.
All right. I guess we're
Don't look at me. I'd just as soon never say anything in this segment.
All right. Well, Tyone and Dobbins it is on Wednesday. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball Today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.